smartest guys around are about to break it down like they won the game a million times.
Woo!
Well, actually, they didn't really win the game at all.
Survivor know it all. Survivor know it all. Stephen without it down, got the game on figured out. They know it all.
We know it all, and we're back. It's Rob and Steven, Survivor Know-It-Alls.
Wow.
We're here.
Wow, Rob. What a crazy episode of Survivor. And you know what we say on Survivor?
Yeah.
Expect the unexpected.
Expect the unexpected, the classic catchphrase of Survivor. And of course, wild episode tonight. A lot going on. Ultimately, it results in a very sad outcome for us to see.
Terrible outcome. And he was in such a great spot. Like, this is truly a guy who was swap screwed. Like, everyone liked him. All they talked about is how nobody wanted to vote him out. And his biggest flaw was how much everyone liked him.
Okay, well, let's talk that through here tonight as we get through. As Brandon said, Brandon said there's always a way out. Let's talk about that if there was for Matthew and much more. Survivor did a lot tonight. Let's talk through whether or not it was working. Of course, we will have a busy day on Thursday on the podcast. I will have my exit interview with Matt Blankenship. So be on the lookout for that. Very much looking forward to talking with him and see how he feels about all of this. And then we have a good one for you. Another banger coming your way as Christian Hubicki joins me to talk about this point in the game. We're about just past the halfway mark, heading into the final 10. Great time to catch up with your friend of mine, Dr. Christian Hubicki, on the recap show this week. Frail Mary joins me on Monday for the feedback show. All right, Steven. So this was, I think, I would say a polarizing episode, but I feel like that I've seen mostly negative reviews online about the episode.
I have seen a lot of negative reviews, and I hear though, and I feel some of those things, but I do think sometimes, the negative, it's like Twitter is where we go to like vent and complain. And then we can also, it's not where we go to be like, oh, that was really fun. I enjoyed that. I mean, sometimes we do. Sometimes we do. But
and I don't think that fun was the right word, but I do feel like that I do like a lot of what Survivor did tonight. And I do think that, and I know that most people will not, and it does feel like, okay, this was a bridge too far with a turducken of twists, of a twist on a twist on a twist. But I really feel like that Survivor did a lot of interesting things and things that I had asked Survivor to do. So don't blame me. No, just kidding. Don't blame me. But the things that I had thought were better ideas than some things that they had done in the past. But I really feel like that Survivor did a bad job with the branding, not the branding, but the branding of all of these ideas, starting with that I had complained for a while, all through the new era of, hey, it kind of stinks that they do the split tribe twist at 10 because we lose not only the final 10 vote, but a pivotal final 9 vote, which in modern Survivor is one of the biggest votes of the season. Why don't they do it at the final 11, which is kind of a nothing vote that very rarely throughout the 44 seasons of Survivor has the final 11 vote at the merge been an important vote. There's just too many numbers. I'm sure there's been a couple if we went back and looked through it, but for the most part, it's usually there's like 1 or 2 targets. There's a big alliance. They split the votes. And it's usually like a nothing burger of an episode. And especially here in the new era where, an episode of Survivor, we only have so many. It kind of stinks that we are getting a full hour of the final 11 and missing the final 10 and final 9. So I like that Survivor split things up here at the final 11 rather than at 10.
Yeah, I do too. I also enjoy the unexpectedness of it. I mean, obviously, Jeff's big thesis now is stay ahead of the players, and I think this is certainly confusing. There is a little bit of just mythology around the actual merge vote, right? Like that always felt like it was the new start to the game.
Sure.
And that the fact that they're all on the beach, but then it's one split tribe, and then suddenly it's this. I think for a lot of people, and myself somewhat to some degree, feel that give us one big chaotic, everyone coming together.
Can I tell you
and
something
then
else?
Break off into the breakout rooms.
That here's another lie. Okay, this is not a twist. This is a lie. Okay, we haven't merged yet. Okay, that you made the survivors might have earned the merge,
right?
But basically, what happened was there were 3 tribes, and then they went down to 2 tribes,
right?
And then did a tribe swap,
right,
to 2 other tribes,
right?
And really, we haven't had a merge vote yet.
It's a terminology thing. You're right. I think you're right.
And they're high, and they like. I think because that I think that creatively they got to come out there of like new. Everything is new.
Right.
Everything is different. It's like nah, not really. And I really think if they would have called it, okay, we didn't merge last week.
Yeah,
we went down to 2 tribes, and then you think we're merged. Oh, guess what? You're in a whole new. We're swapping again. Another new tribe. Because really, it was that like it felt like so many twists. But it was really like an endurance challenge, and Franny won immunity for her tribe. And it was weird that they sat there at tribal council, which I guess we have seen that before in the past.
Yeah, we've seen that in the past with 2 tribes.
We've seen that before in the past, but they made like, oh, and you will not have a say in the vote. Yeah, that's called every single time a tribe wins immunity, that the other tribe will not have a say in the vote in what's going on. So we're like, oh, we're trying to call it all these different things. If you just called it what it really was, I don't think people would be that annoyed by like the newness of a twist.
And the overly large merges are, as you're suggesting, like pretty cumbersome and kind of. Was Cambodia the first one where they had a 13-person merge? I think. I mean, well, here I guess this is 12.
I think so.
Merge.
I think they had done it at 12 prior to that, and maybe Cambodia was the first to do it at 13.
Big, and especially with like multiple tribes in this new era, it's very confusing. I mean, back in the day, you'd have a 12-person merge. Heroes Villains obviously an iconic merge.
Mm-hmm.
That was 12, right? Yeah.
That was 12. But the classic Survivor merge, the old school Survivor merge, was a merge at 10, 10. which is what we're going to get here next week, presumably, when we have the first vote that everybody can participate in. Yeah. And so also we had the new twist of the control a vote twist, which, Stephen, please tell me the difference. What is different between the newly minted control a vote and this steal a vote that you got in Survivor 31?
Well, it is interesting. I mean, there's less, because you got no skin in the game. There's no chance it backfires on you, right? Because like for Heidi, she just gets to like point to someone. She's not up for elimination. She herself is not voting, and I think that's the big difference. It's like this, but I actually thought that was a very fun mechanic. I thought that was a very fun way of giving this other group that has been outcast from this crucial decision where many of their allies are at risk, a voice and a say in it. And what was interesting about it, and I think, I just think it's like fundamentally like how you're reacting to this new era Survivor. Like if you're like, I think you and I maybe have let go of our purist ideas and are, to some degree, and are like, okay, like this is what
we
it is
roll
now.
With the punches, baby.
Yeah. Yeah. But if you're still like looking for that, like, that 39-day social strategy game where, an alliance of 6 slightly outmaneuvers an alliance of 4, like that's not what this game is anymore. But I thought it was a cool way. And what was interesting about it, frustrating for a lot of people, frustrating for me to some degree, but also kind of exciting and fun, was how the utility of that advantage was so completely upended by all the other advantages and like the perceived advantages and the chaos of not knowing who has what. And yes, I do think that like made it hard to use strategically, but it's interesting. It's fun. And I thought it was fun.
Okay, well, let's talk through the actual strategic decision that Heidi made, because I feel like that we did not get a ton of information in the episode for why things happened that way. Presumably, you would think that Heidi would want to protect Matt Matt is very closely aligned with Franny. You think that since they both came from Soka,
yeah.
if she had a chance, she would want to work to protect Matt, and that ultimately she casts a vote there against Jam Jam, correct?
Yeah.
And did you feel like that we got like all of the reasoning of why like what the thought process there was?
Well, the thing that I do think we missed is why she discarded some other possibilities. And I think that's maybe interesting for us to talk through. So for example, like we saw her basically deciding like, am I going to put it all on Matt, or am I going to put it all on Jam Jam? And not what I think a lot of people were crossing their fingers for was, am I going to totally flip this, somehow like bring Matt and Jam Jam and this third vote together and vote out somebody else?
Yeah.
And I think that's what we should talk through. Like, because it was not, when I was watching the episode, at first I was like, what are you doing? This is so obvious. Like, why can't you just put all the votes on Jamie? But then I was like, oh, maybe all of them think that Jamie has an idol, right? Because Carson thought Jamie has an idol. Jamie thought she had an idol. It's totally possible that they all have this idea that Jamie has an idol. So of course, if they, someone steals, if they steal Brandon's vote and voted on Jamie, Jamie's going to play her idol, which we know is fake, but they don't know. And so they can't do that. Now, obviously, they can't do Brandon because Brandon's immune. What about Lauren? So Lauren has this extra vote. If they stack the votes on Lauren, let's say they take Brandon's vote and put it on Lauren, then Lauren is obviously going to vote, use her extra vote, pull out her extra vote. So that at best is going to be a 3-3 tie, right? You have Brandon, Jamie, and Lauren's extra vote versus Brandon we're saying is a zombie vote on Lauren. So you have Lauren's 2 votes and Jamie against Brandon's zombie vote and Matt and Jam Jam. So what happens on the revote? The Lauren's vote, I don't think Lauren's extra vote would not carry through to the revote.
Yeah.
Lauren would be,
and would Jamie go to Rocks for Brandon and Lauren?
Well, but I don't think it wouldn't go to Rocks. Because on the revote, it would be a 2-1 vote, right? Because like Lauren's out of it. So it's only Jamie is voting. She's going to, let's say, vote for, let's say Matt was a target because he was the target. So Matt's not voting. Let's say Jam Jam still votes for Lauren. Now the question comes down to like, what is the zombie vote? Does the zombie vote carry through? Which we don't know. Do the players know? Like they may not know. So it's like all comes down to like rules. Like any great board game. Anyone who plays board games knows that the whole board game,
the order of operations, very important.
97 of the rule book in the teeny tiny print.
Yeah, and it was like unclear like how much they like Heidi could have said to try to like pitch,
or how much she wants to say, like to totally out herself to because no matter what, she's infuriating someone and probably multiple someones.
Yeah. Why was it so important for the Ratu people to take out Matt in that spot over Jam Jam?
It seems like that's what I would have done, right? Jam Jam has fewer allies. This trio of Carson, Jam Jam, and Caroline seems to be more hidden. Like maybe at best they think that like Caroline and Jam Jam have like this like bickery relationship, but Matt is obviously a big strategic social player who is working with everybody and is part of the Soka group. I mean, I would take out Matt in that spot. Who would you go for?
I mean, I just am a little curious about like why they would want to go for that, because I was under the impression that Ratu and Soka were working together on the last vote. So this seems like a open declaration of war from Ratu to end up taking out. Like, I feel like that what Heidi did was sort of like in keeping with their treaty to, work together. All right, let's take out Jam Jam, even though she has a soft spot for him. And then for them to turn it around and take out Matt in that spot. Now, did Danny open the floodgates by targeting Lauren, which then Jam Jam was able to reveal to Lauren that he, Matt was, part and parcel of Danny's plan?
Oh, so this is so you think so your perception is like Heidi. Well, Heidi didn't even particularly want to. Heidi's number one goal was to not anger the 3 Ratu, but she wanted to. So
We
for
don't really
her,
know if it was a group decision or exactly, was it Franny's plea, or is it just that the natural, like, okay, well, Matt is the Ahsoka person, I'm just gonna try to like say put a vote on Jam Jam here.
right? But I mean, in terms of her not trying to take out one of the Ratu, do you think
Yeah.
it's like because she just doesn't want to? Like she's thinking, who do I like piss off the least, basically?
Mhm. Maybe. Would the better move for Heidi have been to take Jam Jam's vote? And just put Jam Jam's vote on an
Jam
arbitrary
Jam.
person, or like, well, he can't vote for himself, but say, Jam Jam, you're voting for Jamie tonight.
Well, in the Steele vote, as you may or not remember, Joe voted for Joe, so I don't know if the control it just depends on how the control vote would work.
Yeah, but you were in possession of Joe's vote. You didn't control
Right,
Joe's vote. So there's a little
right.
bit of a we're getting into the fine print.
That's what I'm saying. It all comes down to page 96, the errata number 4. That's they need to like just have like in the med kit. There's like a med area in every tribe camp, and there's a big box, and in that box is everybody's prescription medications as well as like sunscreen, and if there's any like malaria issues, then that's where you'd have your malaria meds, your daily pills. They need like 100-page survivor rule book in there, and that has all the you can like flip through it and see. Oh, I see. So on a revote, the Steele vote, every possible advantage that could be in the game, and you can read through what every one of them does.
Yeah, they should have that, or they do have that.
They should have that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, not anytime soon.
Yeah, probably not.
No, probably not. I know a lot of people are talking about Franny in the immunity challenge. Okay. Yeah. And I think a lot of people had this reaction as it was going through. Okay, Franny is safe. She can drop right now and fall out of the challenge and protect her tightest ally in the game. Matt, she would go to tribal council with her group. And in her group, it was who? Herself, Carolyn, Heidi, Danny, Kane, Carson, right? Mm-hmm. One of those people would have been voted out. Presumably Kane
or Danny was the original. Like Danny was the target before the challenge, at least as far as we saw, right? Danny and Lauren were the ones who were in discussion. So, I mean, and we saw Franny talking to Kane. I mean, who knows, right? Like, I'm sure they're all having conversations, but if if Danny was the presumed target, just short-circuited there for a second. I know I've been in a challenge. It's hard. You have the chance to win it for yourself. You have the chance to win food. You're talking peanut butter and jelly, which is delicious. Iced tea, I don't particularly care for, but many people do. Chips, and apparently like extra salty, actually does not seem that great in that situation. But
yeah, Jeff highlighted the saltiness.
Yeah. It's such a tough thing because you're not like calculating it like that. But I do think, that would be the top tier survivor move would be to step out at that point, say, because she sees that there's 3 Ratu over there. And then, she knows who's going to be immune, that it's going to be Brandon. And that means, Matt's got a 50% chance of, I mean, she can see what's happening just as well as anybody. I mean, maybe she's not thinking through it. She's in this challenge. It's like really hot. It's hard. She's exhausted. But I think it's unimpeachably a mistake, right?
You would think so, but that being said, I don't think that she really had the foresight to know that people are looking at Matt and Franny and wanting to break them up, and Jam, while he is like a beloved presence out there on the island and certainly like winning people over with his social game, I do feel like that she may have looked at it like, okay, well, Jam's definitely going home. So that I have the opportunity.
You're never that sure. I mean, with you see these split, these tribe splits, and then especially when he's going to be the only Ahsoka there.
Yeah, but that certainly like anything could happen where she could go to tribal council and Heidi could go home. Like another one of her allies could potentially go to a tribal council. She has the opportunity to eat. So while I did have the thought during the challenge of like, oh, Franny should drop out here. Like I do want to give Franny some grace in terms of like, you saw her reaction. It's pretty like unrealistic for a Survivor player to just like give up first individual immunity. You've waited your whole life to get onto the show. It would be, an incredible like play if she did have the presence of mind to do that, but it's still a gamble.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I think that's a fair thing though for people to say.
I
who
just
are
don't want to
watching it
beat
and
up
saying,
Franny
like,
over.
no, but it's fair to be like, the optimum move there would have been to do this, but like, we can understand the reasons that she didn't do it. Like, surely our job is to, talk about the optimum move, in the situation.
But that being said, and this was not her intention. Is Franny better off as a player in the long term to be solo now in the game, or that? Because I feel like that many people felt like, all right, well, obviously, Franny is seen as the brains behind this operation. She may end up being the person to get picked off because her and Matt are a threat.
Well, what's interesting is, all this love that Matt had, though, I don't think we saw until this episode, how everyone just, was gushing about what an incredible social player he was and how he had friends with everyone and he was working with everyone. So I feel like the story we've seen, and maybe it's simply because Franny goes farther and does better than Matt, has been like Franny's the one like thinking strategically and Matt's kind of besotted with Franny. And to hear that Matt is really in this key, or was in this key social position, I thought was pretty interesting because it does sort of add some parity to that relationship. Now, right, is Franny better off not being in a perceived duo? Probably, but weirdly they were never a target. Like nobody was coming from. I mean, there were certainly like some people have mentioned it, right? Lauren mentioned it tonight. But they didn't.
Did she mention it before the split up?
I think it was after the split up. I think it was like when she was talking to Jam Jam, it was like, this is a chance to get out Matt, who everybody loves and who's like, part of this big group and who's got this like super, super duper relationship with Franny. So obviously it was like creating a target, but I don't know. I don't think you ever, not at the final 11. I don't think you want to lose like your crew, like, that would be great at the final 7.
I don't think that she intentionally tried to do it. I'm just trying to look at the silver lining here for Franny.
Right. No, is she better off? Right. And I think Dalton tweeted that she's better off now because she's less of a
mayor of Ponderosa, Matt Blankenship.
Yeah, well, it's true. Hey, to have your biggest ally like advocating for you throughout the whole Ponderosa period, that can only help you if you make it to the end.
Yeah. All right. You said that Matt you said the key to the social relationships. Let's talk about the keys, because you love the key party, right?
I don't know if I used the word key, but
you did say key.
I enjoyed the sequence. It was goofy. It wasn't like I said, it was not like hard-nosed strategy. It wasn't what I used to be most excited about Survivor for, but I thought it was fun television. I mean, you're typically more Mr. Fun TV. You used to like all those like camp invasions with like
Yeah, that's fine. Honestly, I felt like this was just fine for me.
Yeah.
I know that there's been some people on Big Brother or saying how like this is like Survivor has gone full Big Brother, and I guess everybody going to try to get their key is also that we are on the path to becoming more and more Big Brother. So everybody goes around and looks for the key. I do feel like, how many keys did they hide?
I know there were a lot of keys out there. Multiple of them had to work, right? Because it would be crazy to just hope that the one random one dangling off some fern was going to be found.
Yeah. Okay. So ultimately, everybody runs around and they get their key, and Heidi ultimately gets a new advantage in the birdcage. Now, this was like a tough spot to put Heidi in, also to stand up in front of everybody and sort of like
that's one of the hardest parts of this. It's like all this heat on her.
Yeah, because basically, and I don't know if this factored into her decision as to whether or not to make a big move at the final 11, but to stand up in front of everybody on day 14 and basically like declare war against the other side. I mean, that is a lot to ask of Heidi. Now that it turns out that Sokka was on the receiving end of the first strike in the Sokka Ratu war.
What about
But
Josh? Josh was Sokka.
Sokka voted out Sokka.
Yeah, but that's Sokka's way. They wanted to vote out Danny too. It's
like the meme where the guy the guy is dead, and he's like, "Why did Ratu do this?" And it was Sokka. Yeah. So we'll see ultimately, but this is 2 Sokka people out back to back, and I do feel like that the walls are closing in on. I feel like that Franny is not going to be targeted, but I do feel like that for Danny and for Heidi, I feel like that maybe their number could be coming up soon.
Yeah, I mean, Franny, I mean, to that degree, it probably is pretty good for Franny, right? Because Sokka, when she loses Matt, Sokka is going to be right. The big targets are now Heidi, who's sort of taking a shot at Jam Jam, which Jam Jam probably will not appreciate. Like a very, Lauren may not appreciate having her vote stolen. And then Danny, who everyone was worried about having this idol. It's interesting. The numbers are sort of even now. There's 3 original Tikas. There's 3 original Sokkas. There's 4 Ratus. But
I thought Jamie had completely flipped allegiances to be part of Sokka. I mean, Jamie tonight.
Yeah, go ahead.
Was like, oh, Ratu's strong. She barely spoke in this episode.
Yeah. Well, she is aligned with everyone as the key player in the
MVP.
Yeah.
That you touched on this earlier, but it was interesting that really just sort of like the openness of people's advantages. And I guess that the players in Survivor 44 do not seem as concerned as the Survivor 43 players are about the knowledge is power. And honestly, I don't even know if it was like publicly revealed that knowledge is power was in the game in Survivor 43, even though it was in the game twice. The players in Survivor 44 seem to not be especially concerned about knowledge is power.
Yeah, there's not a lot of like shuffling of things. They're just like, oh, this is my thing. Now, but what do you do? I mean, in that situation, it's what you truly, like you can't endlessly. I mean, I think you just have to like hope if it's out there, it's not used against you. There's so much like random stuff out there. I think you just have to kind of cross your fingers with that kind of thing.
There's so much stuff.
You can't like.
Why would they take my thing?
Well, I think that's sort of what you have to hope for. Like, I mean, you saw with Dwight, that the worst thing you could do is start shuffling your advantages to somebody else, and suddenly you get voted out and by the guy who you gave it to.
Yeah. I would love to also just talk through some of the other rules that we ended up having in the episode tonight. This was the first time that I can recall that a survivor, we got the answer to a question that I had always thought the answer was, okay, production is going to do you a solid here. If you go to a challenge and you get swapped, do you have to bring your idol to every challenge? I was always under the impression of
right,
like,
they're
gonna get your stuff. They're gonna get your stuff. Here now, is this a since when, or is this something that has always been true, Stephen?
I think if you merge or you are moved like permanently to another camp, I think typically but like I would always dig up my stuff when we were going, to a challenge. If there was any suggestion that, whatever, you never know for sure, but if there's any inclination that you're going to get swapped around or merged, like that stuff is stuck where it was. I mean, the bag is a little bit trickier because like your clothes are in it. I mean, like, but I think, that's a tough one. I think you're just supposed to take your bag.
Yeah. So weird. Also, like the shot in the dark couldn't
You're
get
not
played.
take your pants to every challenge. I mean, like that's silly. Like, yeah. I mean, it's tough with like his actual hardware. I mean, maybe they told everyone like grab your stuff, and like he just didn't. Because so it's like they're like, you're lost.
Again, it's never happened to another player in 44 seasons, as far as I know. So I don't know if this is something that's been a change in the rules. Also, something else that is an interesting question that we did not get the answer to. So Carolyn has her idol.
Yeah.
Could she, if she wanted to, play her hidden immunity idol for Jam Jam tonight?
I don't know. And I really wanted
I suspect
to know.
not.
But you don't think that isn't like the rule of good TV? Isn't that like the primary rule here? Like she throws it across to Jam Jam. He reaches up and catches it and, walks it to Jeff. Like, come on, what producer is going to be like, nope.
Yeah, I mean, I suspect that I got the impression that she could not do that, but I
She
also
does explicitly say like, "There's nothing I can do." I mean, I was hoping that the real power move would be Franny taking her new immunity necklace and handing it to Matt because she's immune as a tribe, so she's got a necklace. That necklace means something. It's not, but apparently it really was just purely ceremonial.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they had safety without power. So did they lose all of their powers in terms of what was going on?
I mean, it would have been real chaos if people were just like chucking things back and forth across the room.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if it would have been cleaner. I mean, I don't know if it would have been better TV, but basically, and we've seen this before where Heidi writes who she wants to vote for, like in a note that's in a bottle, and Jeff opens it up at the tribal council. So they're actually not there to potentially play their advantages, but just feels like a little weird to be in the merge and then players can't use their advantages to play the game. Like it's a little weird.
Yeah, I've never liked that when there's just like arbitrary rules about how things can work. Like it's like that's what I hated about the knowledge is power. Like you have to tell. Like why do I have to tell? Like no, I don't. Like that's not Survivor. Like why do I have to be honest with you? That was my big problem with that advantage. And I agree with you here. It's you have a tool, the tool has an ability, but you can't use it this time because of like magic. I've never liked that. I've always wanted the tools to be consistent in terms of how they're able to, and that's why I think she should have been able, if she had an immunity necklace, like that is an item with meaning. It's not just like a ceremonial thing. It's like her individual immunity necklace. He was very clear, like she won the individual immunity necklace, but that was not how it played out tonight.
Did you get tipped off in the edit who was going home?
I mean, the only time I mean, I did think with the montage, I thought maybe
the montage in hindsight was a bit much. I was texting with Mike Bloom earlier, and I said, in hindsight, I think the montage should have been the giveaway of what was going to happen tonight.
Well, because those scenes were like from last week, it's like,
we did not forget. Although I do have to say, I really thought like, wow, they are really going to do Lauren dirty of like, this is going to be her boot episode. And we've made it all about Matt and Jam Jam.
Wow. I know. I mean, that's what I was hoping was going to happen because I love both Matt and Jam Jam, but I mean, I just want to still go back and to like talk about like Heidi's strategy, and I also want to talk about the RHAP strategy, and you a little bit more because I feel like a little undecided. So for the RHAP strategy, like you think they should have gone for Jam Jam?
I mean, I don't know. I feel like that. I don't know what comes next. I guess that for Lauren, we saw her talking with Jam Jam. I don't know if she feels like, okay, we're gonna ditch RHAP or we're gonna ditch Soka. We're actually now going to target Soka, and we're going to pick up. We already have Carson as like an honorary Ratu people. So Carson is in with Jam Jam. So let's just grab Jam Jam and Carolyn and take out the perceived bigger threats of, Matt, Franny, Danny, and Heidi.
Right. Yeah. I think that's my perspective. That's what I would have done. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I just that we like didn't get to see everything. It's hard to say. There's a lot. There's a lot going on. A lot of moving parts, and I get embarrassed sometimes because I feel like that we come on here right after the episode and we are the Survivor know-it-alls. But sometimes it takes me, 2 or 3 times of watching the episode before I feel like I have a good handle on what actually happened.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard in these days too, because there's a lot of information. We've just been guessing a lot of time, and we have,
They say that's the mark of a good TV show, that you have to watch it 5 times and then you know what happens.
And even then, like truly, like with like
you watch it 5 times and then you do 8 hours of podcasts and then you get it.
This TV show is made for one single person in the world, and but he really gets a lot out of it.
And then you get to also interview spend 15 minutes talking to the person that was on the show. Like by the end of the week, then I feel like I really know what happened.
Yeah, I mean, it was like with Matthew, not having, we correctly speculated about why he played his shot in the dark, but the episode didn't tell us. I do want more. And if the rumor is true, can I that
go for
there
it.
will be 90 minutes and truly a rumor. I mean, I know as much as anybody that there will be, next season will be 90-minute episodes. Like
potentially, yeah.
I do think that could help a lot because there's so much where I guess, it just like crazy stuff happens. People make decisions. We see very top level thinking, and like, that's not where the fandom is. The fandom is like, I want to know why this happened in minutiae. I want to know why not this person, why not that person, and what this would do if that happened. And
yeah.
I think they need more.
And also, in 42 minutes, the show also has to sell you a lie of something that's not going to happen to try to make you surprised about the thing that is going to happen.
Right. That's a great point.
You get like, in the given episode is 42 minutes, you got to get 4 to 5 minutes of misinformation of things that were never going to happen, that the show's trying to trick you into thinking are possibilities, so you're surprised when the real thing happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
Steven?
It's very chaotic and confusing. But it's true. It's like a lot of it is just sort of like, kind of like, it's like where, like archaeologists, we've got like this like one fragment of pottery and we're like, this is what the vase might look like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we'll see where it goes from here. But I am very excited to have a real Final 10, a real Final 9, and what should be a very fun actual merge coming in the next couple of weeks.
I think it's a great paradigm shift that this was like, it's all a terminology thing. Like, this is not the merge. This is two tribes.
That's how I'm framing it. That's how I'm framing it. Otherwise, it's just like, this is new. This is new. This is new. Like, what are we even doing? It's just like, no, they're doing a lot of stuff they've done before, but they're just trying to make it sound a little sexier. But I think it's just confusing everybody.
And it's like, it's chaotic. That's the new Survivor. Like, things are constantly changing. People are getting voted out for like, and I mean, on the other hand, Brandon thinks the best player wins.
Yeah, always.
Yeah.
Steven, we have some questions from the listeners. If you would like to ask your questions, you can post it in the chat. But first, let me tell you some very exciting news that I'm happy to announce on the Survivor Rolls for the first time.
No.
Steven.
Whoa.
May 10th and May 11th, RHAP is coming back to Toronto for the first time in Canada since 2017.
God, was that
country of origin of Kane from this season of Survivor. We will be with our friends Marianne and Omer. Great Survivor players from Toronto are going to be with us that night on May 10th. And then the following night, we will be doing a Big Brother Canada 11. We believe that it is going to be the finale of Big Brother Canada 11. So we will have a finale podcast and party for both nights, May 10th and May 11th. Those tickets are officially on sale to all the patrons. We put them on sale last week, but they are available to all when you go to robisawebsite.com/Toronto. Should be a really nice turnout there in Toronto. Very excited to get back. That's going to be coming up next month. robisawebsite.com/Toronto. All right, Steven, you ready for some questions from the audience?
Yeah.
Okay? All right. How about, what about LM wants to know, was this the right move for Lauren? Matt was secretly a vote to take out Danny. She couldn't have known, but still.
That's a tough one. I mean, I don't know how. I guess the idea was like, right, that Matt was going for Danny and not for her.
I mean, there were two options really for Lauren, and Jam was telling her about the plan that Danny had. So I think that from Lauren's perspective, I think that she made the right decision.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question though. I mean, it is more useful to say like, from each of these people's perspective, like who is the right, who's the right call.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Steven, how about this question from the Kingly Dragon?
All right, the Kingly Dragon wants to know, with Matt being the first member of the jury, what do you think the odds are of a full Murphy? Wow, a full Murphy this season. Full Murphy, obviously referring to the David Murphy ode.
Yep.
Followed by, I assume the full Murphy is the full Murphy is going to be the David Murphy ode to Boston Rob, right? That great huge speech that he gave at the end of Redemption Island, and then presumably the full Murphy involves also a proposal which happened
That's right. All
from
in
the
one night.
stage,
All in one night. The full Murphy.
Wow,
Yep.
the full Murphy. So as we may I remember Dave Murphy also proposed
Your
to
tribe mate.
Carolina Eastwood.
Mm-hmm.
She said, "Shut the front door."
Mm-hmm.
As you know, she accepted it.
Mm-hmm.
Not still. I mean, you know, it didn't work out. But
Yep.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I don't think so.
It would be wild for Matt to propose at the end of a 26-day season.
Yeah.
After only
2
14
weeks, it's
days.
like that makes sense.
After,
They spent 2 more weeks together, so it makes sense.
mm-hmm.
They
Although
spent a month together
look,
instead of a
if
half
Franny
month
gets
together.
voted out next and they spend like 11 days at Ponderosa, I guess who knows? But it would be unlikely, you would think.
Yeah, I'm not predicting. I feel like, they're going to start with the Ethiopian food, and then see where it goes. We're not going to go straight to the proposal at the reunion.
Yeah. I don't know if we spent enough time talking about it, but it was very, very fun. I was actually taken aback. I was not expecting this relationship to be cut so short tonight.
Well, yeah, I
took it for granted.
I know. It's like been such a fun part of the show and just like so sincere, like and Matt especially is like so sincere, and so open with his emotions and just like so vulnerable and out there in this like really rare, beautiful way that it was so much fun to watch. And, it really, this is what we miss from not having the live reunion show. We're not, are we ever going to get the full story of what happened? Like, I feel like Jeff could get it out of them at the live show.
But it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. Okay. All right, Steven. This is a very interesting question from Tubby Lunchbox. Okay. Tubby Lunchbox wants to, should Survivor introduce a new twist next season where everybody votes at a tribal council and they all have exactly one vote? I don't know. That's a little like out of the box.
That's wild. Like, so people,
every single person votes.
People who wouldn't normally get a vote suddenly get to vote. Like, or what about the person with two votes? Like that person doesn't get 2 votes.
Let me get you straight. Every single person casts a vote, and nobody, not a bunch of random people are safe.
I think it could be too chaotic. It would be very confusing and hard to follow. I honestly don't think that's the future of the show.
Too crazy. That's crazy. Get out of here. Yeah. Get out of here. Look, they do a lot of stuff on the show, but that's too out of this world. I will say though, I thought that the whole ethos was, Steven, of you gotta earn the merge.
Right.
You gotta earn this. Like, you have people like Carolyn who that they have not even been able to be voted for yet in the merge. Like, how did those people earn the final 10 because they happened to pull a rock out of a bag and be on the same team as Franny?
She pulled the right rock, Rob. That's earning. If you
earning.
pull the right rock, that's it's the lucky rock.
So.
Yeah,
I guess so. Okay. All right. So, do we have an official answer here to Stu Dodo 13's question? I like what you said about Stu Dodo.
Stu Dodo 13 wants to know who would have gone if Brandon won immunity for the whole team. I don't think we know, but we can guess. Let's speculate, Rob. So,
okay.
Danny was the target.
So you have, Carson.
Yeah.
Carolyn, and Kane are there, and then Heidi and Danny, and Franny.
Now, so who gets the controller vote from the other group?
Oh,
who's the best key opener?
We didn't even think about that.
Yeah, you got to factor that in.
Yes. Okay. Well, Matt did find the key to the fake bird cage, but Brandon found the real key to the bird
and Matt
cage.
only was as we saw, he was prompted by Danny where to look. He would not have. I think Brandon might be the best key finder, of that other group.
Mm-hmm.
So Brandon's got a key.
He's got a key, but does he turn on the meat brigade? Boy, this meat brigade it cost Josh his game, and it was very short-lived.
Yeah, exactly. We haven't even heard anything about the meat brigade since.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe they're the final two. Maybe it comes down. That would be a heartbreaking. The two meat brigade battling it off at the end there. That would be powerful.
Yeah, it's like Survivor Tocantins.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So didn't you and JT win a reward to go to the meat brigade?
That was exactly. Yeah. I have never had more meat than on that brigade. I mean, truly, like that was so much delicious meat.
Yeah. Okay.
And some pineapple too.
Yeah.
Pineapple's delicious.
Okay. Mm-hmm. You could almost re-scramble the letters of brigade to make birdcage.
I wonder
So
if that's interesting.
very close. It's very close.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anyway, that being said, Steven, yeah, I do think it would have been interesting to have a Danny blindside, that we were kind of robbed of that potential plan in this episode here at the final 11. Do you think it's coming in the final 10?
Danny could be an interesting, I mean, it is interesting because now he's got it. I mean, do you think he's going to do you think all of those Soka people will sort of be, have their hackles up?
Well, now that Matt got voted out, you would have to think so, that would be a possibility, where I think that when they get back to camp, like, hey, why did you vote out our ally? Why did you do that? And we saw the conversation in this episode about Matt putting the pieces together that Danny may have been the person who put the fake idol out there. Now, I said at the time that I didn't we're having so much fun, fake idols. And it's like, just because you can do the thing, did you stop to think whether or not you should do the thing?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, let me just see what happens if I roll this snowball down the mountain. Okay. Well, it could come back and run you over.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's good though. That's what makes a Survivor fun, right? Is when the person rolls a snowball and then it comes back and runs them over. Like they make the subpar choice and then they, get hoisted by their own petard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this could come back around, but now I wonder potentially if Danny's idol will be played, and then will we have maybe at the final 10, could we see like a big blob of survivors doing like a vote split on, say, like a Danny and Heidi next week?
That's interesting. Just like sort of, but like, why would, I guess like if Jam and is feeling sidelined, and Carolyn obviously made her plea to save Jam and was ignored, so maybe she feels sidelined by Heidi. So you could see them.
Never found out why Carolyn voted for Kane last week.
And Carson's got the connection with Ratu, so you could see like a Ratu Tika voting off Danny or Heidi.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. Hey, Matt was not eligible to be voted out last week, right?
Matt was not eligible to be voted out last week.
Was Matt eligible?
I'm trying to think. No, he was at the feast.
Right, of course.
He was at the feast talking about Josh.
So this is interesting. Apparently, and we were talking about this a little bit last week. So as of today, the person voted out after Mergatory has always been in the other group.
The person voted out after Mergatory has always been safe at the Mergatory.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think that means?
I mean, I think there may be a sense of like, okay, that group just was in the crossfire. Like they made it out. Like now, like attention is over here. Or maybe it's just coincidence because there's only 4 times. But 4 times sequentially.
Yeah, I think it's probably more likely to be coincidence, but I'd have to do a deeper dive into.
It would be something I would be aware of as a future player. Be like, oh, there's a likelihood, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen every time. But there's a likelihood that maybe next time it could happen.
Okay, what about this question from Billiam, Stephen? Billiam
wants to know, since they edit the final words, do you think it's important that Matt said something to the effect of, "Franny, I'm so proud of you for winning"? That's his story. I mean, yeah, I'm sure like there was other stuff he talked about that didn't make it to the show.
Mm-hmm.
That was his storyline.
Yeah, I think that Matt is just happy that she won the challenge. There's something like guy. Don't beat yourself up over winning.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. A lot of these questions were things that we have already talked about.
Let's talk about it again.
You want to talk about it again?
Yeah, that's a good one.
All right. Euro Cheese says, was it smart for Heidi to win the advantage?
That's a tough one, right? I mean, what do you think? I mean, like, what do you do? Like, of course you go.
Well, you don't know what the advantage was.
You want it in your hand.
Idol.
Yeah, it could be like food. It could be like you have no idea what it. You want to be the one holding the power, even if it ends up blowing up in your face.
Yeah.
I mean, in that case, you don't really want it, but
ideally not. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. How about this question from Rio, who has a question for you?
Heidi have like given it to Franny and being like, "Hey, you really want this? Like, you do this thing." But
is it transferable?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I'm telling you, you need the errata. You need the like PDF that the game developer came up afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah.
Steven's question is for Steven. When I think of Matt, I think of Erin on Survivor 18, both getting over a breakup. Did that come up while out there? How do you deal with a player who's reeling from events in their real life?
I think you do what Franny did. You try to make them feel like, hey, I'm your new, I'm like your emotional safe place.
Not for anything. Boy, did Matt have like the worst run of luck of like
I know,
he came into the game talking about like, well, I'm getting out of a breakup, and then my girlfriend took my dog, and then he goes to Shipwheel Island, and then he loses his vote, and then he sticks his hand back in the bag, and then he loses his vote again, and then he thinks he found an idol. But it turns out it was a fake idol. Ultimately, he gets his vote back tonight. He's like, I'm feeling like I'm on top of the world. And then ultimately ends up getting swap screwed, voted out of the game. He doesn't have his bag. He can't even play his shot in the dark. The only thing that happened to go his way was he found the love of his life.
Yeah.
So,
oh, wow. I mean,
I guess he's even Steven.
Yeah. That was another moment where I was like, not great for Matt at the very start of the episode. He was like, I'm finally got power. I was like, oh no, you never want to say that.
I feel like I'm able to spread my wings. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Are you going to still work on the Matt impression? Like maybe
I feel like I never got to nail it, but he's got a great voice. Listen to any audiobook that he wants to put out. Looking forward to his exit interview tomorrow. Anything else, Steven?
I don't think so. This was good. I feel like we talked about a lot of things. It was ultimately, I absolutely understand the frustration. I mean, again, especially like the merge episode, I do feel like it's a little bit of a sanctified space, but I get the frustration a lot of people have. Like, and then there's this twist, and then to counteract this twist, there's this twist. But for me, it was I enjoyed it. I've like it's frustrating to not be able to see the like social game play out in the way that it used to. But I'm trying to like breathe and inhale through my nose and exhale through my mouth when I feel those things and like focus on the game on the fun TV show in front of me.
Yeah. All right. Well, Steven, we've got a lot coming up your way, of course. When you become a patron, that we've got premium content, early access to some of the stuff I'm doing, international reality shows. We make it very easy. Come be a part of the greatest reality TV community in the world. Be a part of RHAP Has a Planet when you become a patron at RHAP Has a
Planet.
Yeah.
Wow, you've really expanded.
We've expanded worldwide.
Wow. I mean, I knew you when you just had a podcast.
RHAPiswebsite.com/patron.
I didn't know. Yeah, you had a website too.
Yeah. Okay. I'll be live for the patron happy hour, where on Friday I will be taking your calls live 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific. So join us on Friday to talk about whatever's going on in Survivor, RHAP Has a Podcast, or anything else you want to talk about. Join us then. Of course, we have so much Survivor coverage that we're going to be throwing at you, in addition to everything that I'm doing: the B&B, Survivor Global, Why Blank Lost, the Survivor Stockwatch, the Purple Pants Podcast, Survivor News Edition. It's all coming your way in the Survivor podcast feed. RHAPisawebsite.com/Survivor feed. Today, I talked with the great Sasha Joseph. We kicked off our coverage of the show Below Deck on a little podcast we're calling Big Deck Energy, part of our new Bravo RHAP Ups podcast feed. And so you could hear Sasha Joseph and myself talking about the premiere of Below Deck: Sailing Yacht.
Sounds very fun.
Yeah. Steven, are you a yachty?
What is a yachty?
Somebody that goes like on yachts.
I mean, I'd like to be. How do I become one?
Are you a boat guy?
I mean, I've always loved being on boats.
Yes,
but I don't really get a chance to go on them a lot.
Yeah.
What's the path?
I guess you gotta just like know some people on Bravo. Yeah. Okay. A lot of boats in Fiji, from what I understand from the On Fire podcast. Okay. Race to Survive: Alaska is the show that we're covering over on Hit or Quit. Jenny Autumn and I will decide each week if a new reality show is a hit or if we should quit. Basically, it's like the Amazing Race set in the wilderness of Alaska. So check out what we have to say on the USA Network's Race to Survive: Alaska. All right. And then, Steve, I know you're not a Succession guy. I had a great time talking with Josh Wigler this morning, and talking about everything from this week's very impressive episode of Succession. So check that out, both on post-show recaps and on Rob as a podcast. And then right after Stephen and I get off, we will then turn over the reins to Taron Armstrong and company for the Big Brother Canada veto episode recap coming up at 10:30 Eastern. So if you're watching us here live, don't go anywhere. Big Brother Canada, although maybe you didn't watch Big Brother Canada, but you just watch the podcast. Jump right in, okay? Make sure you don't miss that. And then, of course, Kevin Jacobs will be back for the eviction episode on Thursday. And then this Sunday, Stephen, big event is coming up. Love is Blind, of course, the Netflix sensation. We've had incredible podcast coverage going on with Asia Welch and Mary Kwiatkowski, and they have been covering the entire season. They are going to be live on Sunday night at 9:15 p.m. Eastern time on the robhasthewebsite.com and our YouTube channel for live reactions to Netflix is doing you remember when Survivor used to have like a reunion show at the end of the season?
I love it.
Love is Blind is doing that, and it's going to be live on Sunday night. So join Asia and Mary live to react to the Love is Blind reunion show live on Netflix on Sunday night. Mari Forth will join them for that one. Make sure you subscribe to everything we're doing. robhasthewebsite.com/subscribe and follow us on social media. Stephen, what about the fish sheet tonight?
I don't know, Rob. Can you help me with this? I can't think of it. I mean, honestly, like, did anyone play? I mean, I guess like the Raw 2-3 played
I give it
well.
to Jam Jam.
Jam for like not being the vote, but like,
well, Jam, I mean, he started the episode with like exerting like, Jam Jam's got a good social game. And then like he bounced back. He came back from getting votes. So he like let it roll off his back. He made a joke out of it. And then he went into that situation and it was like a coin flip between him and Matt. And he really, threw that by way of like having the intel from Carson. He threw Danny's plan under the bus to Lauren. And then became the person. At the same time, he was also trying to, work with Matt to potentially work on a secondary plan. And at the end of the day, he ends up being the person who comes, out of this like heads up, duel to the death.
That's a really good argument. I think the other argument would be for Lauren, because it did seem like Brandon and Jamie maybe were more open to.
Lauren seems so annoyed about the whole steal of control of vote.
But good for her for asking that question. Like, hey, like immediately go to the rules. Like, thank you. Like more people need to immediately go to the rule book.
What about my other vote?
Yeah. I thought that was great. Like, I thought that was really smart of her. Just immediately get the rules clarification. And then she still didn't play the other vote. She just wanted to know like what the situation was, like how the things broke down. I will give it to Jam for that reason, especially the idea of like using the information he got from Carson in order to kind of like focus Lauren on Matt. But I think unfortunately, we just didn't see enough of Lauren's reasoning for wanting Matt out. We saw very little from Lauren. But I do think like otherwise it would be a very strong, probably a strong case to give it to her. But in this case, I'm going to give it to Jam.
And also to the listeners and the patrons, I still need some inspiration for this week's topic of my burning question deep dive video that I've been making last week. I talked about, should Survivor reuse the challenges? Is it fair? Is it good TV? Had a really good response to that one. So if you have some thoughts on this week's burning question deep dive, would love to hear what you think. Thank you so much for joining us. Yes?
No. I didn't know. I didn't realize you were wrapping. I was just going to keep, I'm having fun. Let's go. Let's go all night.
You want to stick around for Big Brother Canada?
No, I may head up to bed actually.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll talk to you next time. Bye.